Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our 6 Personal Perspective, Chapter 2. We're going to do our second episode here today, focusing on the 2 other perspectives. Spotlight, please. Thank you. Can someone please share the screen and spotlight? Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's give about another minute or 2 for the rest of our friends to be joining us. We should have about 250 people to 300 people today. I'm just going to give 1 or 2 minutes more. Quick question. How many of you were on the call yesterday night with Bendy Papasan? If you were there, say aye. All right. What are some of the ahas that you are getting from yesterday's session? And this is very linked to what we are going to do today. What are some of the ahas that you've gotten from the session yesterday? Anyone? Share in the chat box. What are some of the ahas? It can be quite simple to do, absolutely. Virtual staging. Be different from other agents. U360 camera. Eye-opening. Live every day, our last day. Live every day, our last day. Absolutely. 360. Wow. How many of you are ready to go on the Matterport and do 360 virtual tour right now? Virtual walk. There you go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes, 15,000 to 3 million GCI. Now, it's not common for us to have an agent here in Malaysia to be doing 3,000 US dollars GCI. I don't know whether there's anyone doing it, but that's one of them that we got to speak to us yesterday night. These are some of the things that we are able to bring from you because of our relationship with Keller Williams and because of our network that we are in. And we're going to have many more sessions like that, bringing all over the top producing agents. Very soon you'll be hearing from Jeff Cohn. Jeff Cohn has done $1 billion US dollars worth of transaction. How he left Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway Homes for which is another company in the US, and how Keller Williams got him to join him on board, and now he's spearheading a very different approach in Omaha, Nebraska for the Keller Williams family. So Jeff Cohn is definitely one of that agent that will be sharing some sessions with us, teaching us how to do our business and how he has sold $1 billion worth of properties in his career. I don't think there are many people in this country can say that they have sold $1 billion US dollars worth of property. Not many. And there's not many opportunity for us to have that kind of expertise and the kind of opportunities to hear from them. So I just want to let you all know that stay tuned for many more of these night trainings and how are we going to do this. Yes, absolutely, to learn and implement how to do virtual tour. This is really about being that tech-enabled agent. It's not about talking about technology. It's about using technology, being that agent that's able to use technology, having a technology that works, right? So this is something that we are working on together very closely with all the technology companies in the world. And we are proud to be associated with Matterport, probably the most prominent technology provider for real estate agents in the world. Now, today we want to focus on the mindset of the 6 Personal Perspective, and we are in a series of a second series. Every week we're going to have a series for the next 3 weeks about personal perspective. And the 6 Personal Perspective that Gary Keller and some of his leadership team created this syllabus about 20 over years ago. And based on interviewing the top 1,000 or top 500 agents in the country, who are all, by the way, $1 million agents in US dollars. They have netted $1 million, not gross, but netted $1 million, and how they are now thinking about what's that perspective. So when he interviewed these people, he did research, and he came and find that there are 6 qualities or 6 personal perspectives that all these top producing agents have. So we are now in that series to go through those perspectives that is required in order for you to net ringgit 1 million or $1 million, right? So I'm using dollars because that's really how much they net. Right now in Keller Williams family, every year, about 5,000 agents are netting $1 million US dollars. About 5,000 agents every year nets $1 million US dollars net. GCI gross $1 million, there are plenty of them. So that's what's happening now in the system. It's the only company in the planet, right, that is helping agents to net $1 million based on system technology, processes, models. So today we are very pleased to have William Go again, who is going to do this series together with me. And today we're going to explore two personal perspectives, which is moving from E to P and being learning based. William, are you there?
Yes, I'm already.
Okay, William, take us away.
All right, let me put in the screen and all right, 6 personal perspective. So let me run through the benefits of today's session is to help you to achieve your goals in life as well as in business. All right. So this is a learning session, and it's not just for infotainment, right? What Gary Keller says is most people going out to get an education are really into infotainment, right? Meaning that they join a seminar, they join sessions like this and just gain some knowledge, and they feel good about it. They feel proud that they have spent time doing this, but at the end of the day, it has no effect to their business or as well as to their life. So at the end of the day, you call this an infotainment because you are just learning for knowledge sake, but not for profit sake. All right. So get ready. In any active learning, you need to be ready with some pen and paper and ready to participate in some exercises. So the question Gary asked is, what is it that differentiates those who achieve at the highest level and those who don't seem to accomplish much? With this question, he went to the market and interviewed all the mega agents and found that all these mega agents has 3 success criteria that they have that made them successful. One is mindset, attitude, and approach to life. So he asked the question, how do I help people to achieve a mindset, attitudes, and approach to life, which is 3 success criteria that all mega agents has? And that's how he came out with 6 personal perspectives, all right? So to achieve that success, you need to have these 6 personal perspectives. And step 1 is called commit to self-mastery, which we covered last session. And in this session, you tell yourself that you are going to nail it, that you are going to master it. Step number 2 is that you commit to 80-20 principle. All mega agents commit to that. And this is where you tell yourself that I'm going to focus on my big rocks. All right. Step number 3 is what we're going to cover today is move from E to P. And again, all mega agents want to be purposeful about breaking through their ceilings of achievement. We'll elaborate on that a little while. And step number 4 is making learning based the foundation of your action. And this is what you tell yourself, that you are willing to be taught and always pursue learning. So kudos to you for being here today to learn about these 6 personal perspectives that will help you to achieve a higher level of success. Step number 5 is remove your limiting beliefs. Now, even mega agents has limiting beliefs, but they are able to find a way to overcome that, to remove that limiting beliefs where they tell themselves that I will unlimit my thinking and my success, all right? And step number 6, which is also acquired by all successful agents, all the mega agents, where they say to themselves that it is mine and mine alone, where they say they are the first be accountable to themselves. All right. So these are the 6 personal perspectives that Gary Keller came up with to help people to achieve the 3 criteria, the success criteria of all mega agents, that is mindset, attitude, and approach to life. All right. So just a quick brief recap of what we done in the last session. We talk about commit to self-mastery, where self-mastery is the possession of great knowledge, skills, habits that make you the master of you. Excuse me. And so you need to know and commit to your self-mastery. You need to know your goals, right? You need to know your goals so that you will be able to move in that direction of self-mastery. You need to know your strengths and weaknesses, and you need to know how to work on both your strength and weaknesses to reach your goals. All right. So that's self-mastery. Before you want to master anything, you must first learn to self-master yourself. You must be able to attain that level of self-mastery so that you'll be able to master anything that you want to master in. All right. And what are the things you want to master in? We will look into that afterwards. So we also covered about committing to 80-20 principle. What is that 80-20 principle? Is that we focus on the 20% that matters, and we get to 80% where we will get the 80% of the results. We will have a lot of things to do, a lot of things on our plate, but we cannot do everything. And so we need to identify the big rocks, which is the 20% that will matter to us, that will bring us the 80% of the results. All right. And so we need to commit to 80-20 principle, and all mega agents learn how to do that. And by identifying their big rocks, which is that 20%, that will bring them the 80% of the results. And talking about 80-20%, we also covered up on the 411 that mega agent uses, which help them to be more focused and to be more results oriented, right? And able to manage their time well. And so this 411, we covered that. We also had one session on that last week, right? In the next session, we cover on that in a very elaborate way on 411. And so step number 2, we also taught you about time block, where you time block on your 20%. You time block on the big rocks, right? What are your big rocks? You need to time block on that and be more focused on that, and refer to your weekly goals on your 411, right? Time block is what a typical, if you do a time blocking, it will reflect and show in your calendar. And how does your typical calendar looks like when you do a time block? The time block should be on those big rocks, those things that are important to you, those things that matters, those things that are your 20% that brings you the 80% of the results. All right. So this is what we covered in the last session on committing to 80-20 principle. So I would like to emphasize this and repeat this because a lot of people miss this point when they talk about time block. The truth is that the world doesn't know your purpose and your priorities and isn't responsible for you. All right. You are responsible for yourself. So that's why you do a time block. And when you do a time block, you need to inform the whole world that this is a time where you are busy and you will not allow any other things to interfere with your time block. All right. So if you are a manager, you need to tell all your staff that this is a time where I do my time block. This is my time block, and don't disturb me during this time. All right. So that's how you protect your time block. That's how you maintain your time block, and you do not allow other things to interfere with you or disrupt your time block. All right. That's how you practice time block, and it should be reflected in your calendar as well. All right. So today we are going to cover step number 3, that is moving from E to P, moving from entrepreneurship to purposeful. And what is that? Getting purposeful means I am purposeful about breaking through my ceiling of achievement. All right. Why you want to be purposeful? Because you want to break through your ceiling of achievement. You want to move on to the next level, and you want to do better. You want to unlimit your success. All right. So that's why you need to be more purposeful. So that's why this step number 3 is moving from being E to P, being entrepreneur to purposeful. Let me explain that a bit further. Now, you look at the bottom here on E here, most of us do our business as an entrepreneur, right? Which is very natural. Being an entrepreneur means you do things that comes naturally, where you have the drive, you have the enthusiasm, and you work it based on your motivation and your natural behavior, and also on your spontaneity, which is nothing wrong. Most of the entrepreneurs are doing it that way. Most of the startups do business that way, right? They do the business based on their drive and enthusiasm, and even on spontaneity, which is good, but it will in some certain time reach your ceiling of achievement. In other words, if you have been $200,000 performer, right? You've been achieving 200,000 in your commission, and every year you've been hitting that ceiling. And maybe after some time you try, and then you drop to 150, and then you try again, you try harder, and move on to 200. You drop a bit slightly the following year and move on to 200 again, and you've been there at 200, which is your ceiling of achievement. That is why, because all this while you've been using your entrepreneurial style, using what comes naturally to you, and using your natural behavior and your enthusiasm, right? But intuition, drive, enthusiasm has a small capacity, right? It is a tank that is only that big. After some time, you run out of steam, you run out of gas, and that's where you reach disappointment and resignation. And even last night, you have heard that even Wendy Papasan also has this kind of experiences where she comes to a stage where she's thinking of resigning and stopping, and want to stop doing real estate altogether. So that is because when we are on the entrepreneurial style, we have this kind of limiting beliefs. We have reached this kind of ceiling, and we have reached our maximum capacity, right? So every year we are going up and down, and sometimes we want to look for greener pastures, hoping that greener pastures will be able to change change the fate, so to speak. All right, and hopefully it will take you and break you through the ceiling. But that is not the way to go about. You need to be, instead of being just being entrepreneurial, you need to be more purposeful. And so what we say by being more purposeful, that means you need to look for systems and models that are able to help you to break through, all right? So as you can see here, being more purposeful here means more focused, more strategic, and looking at new models and new systems, and including accountability, all right? Doing what comes unnatural, doing something that is what you call unnatural, then you are being more purposeful. And how to reach this status? Of course, you need to go through the training. You need to go through the coaching. You need to go through some consultation, all right? A bit more on that later on. And so what we want you to see here at this stage, on this slide, we want you to see what being entrepreneur means and what purposeful means. So being entrepreneur is just doing what comes naturally to you, using your natural abilities, and moving on basing on your enthusiasm, your intuition, and your drive. All right, but there is always a limit to that, and you will always come to a ceiling of achievements. So to break through, you need to find a model that will help you to break through and to reach that, so that you'll be more purposeful and doing things that are unnatural. And to reach that level, you need to go through some training, some coaching, and some consulting. All right. So move from E to P, and let's see what Brenda Benson has to say about moving from E to P.
I'm Brenda Benson, and I've experienced moving from E to P, entrepreneurial to purposeful. And I want to share a personal story with you about how that happened in my own career. As I entered the real estate field, I began to lead generate. And in my lead generation process, I just kind of winged it. That's what I call E. I was not purposeful. I lead generated when it was convenient. I lead generated when I was around familiar faces. I lead generated when I was in a familiar environment. And guess what? My results reflected the haphazardness of that lead generation. When I became purposeful, my results showed that purposefulness. As I looked to pick up the phone and make those calls, and I blocked time for my lead generation, my appointments went up. When my appointments went up, my actual results reflected those appointments. So I know in my own life, just through lead generating and knowing when I was in E versus when I was in P, that my results were different when I became a purposeful lead generator. and I know that can happen for you. So let me share with you 5 quick concepts that really helped me move from E to P. Number 1, focus. Focus on that 20%. Number 2, create strategies and action items that will support you staying in that focused 20%. Number 3, follow the model. The next item would be to install and implement the systems. Implement systems that support the model. And finally, number 5, be accountable. Make sure that you're tracking and you're looking at, as I was, the entrepreneurial piece versus the purposeful piece. So if you are willing to embrace these 5 quick concepts that I just shared with you, your world can change just like mine has. Are you willing to move from entrepreneurial to purposeful?
如果有細胞先有豆漿 chocolate color 嘅，有豆嘅，
Yeah.
有平。
Someone please mute your mic. All right. So we have seen from the video okay. Can you hear me then?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good.
With William, there is a okay. The gray box is gone.
Everything okay?
Yeah, good. You can continue.
Okay. So from the video, you can see that the moment she started to be, she decided to be more purposeful, the results change. All right, the results change. She get better results, and she's more consistent with the results. And so she suggested that there are 5 steps you can take to help you move from being entrepreneurial to become more purposeful. And what are the 5 steps? Step number 1 is to focus. All right. Focus here means that you need to write a goals, and we covered that last week, where you need to set a goal, identify your goal, so that you have a direction, and from there you focus on your 20%, which is your big rocks. All right. So step number 1 is focus. Step number 2 is to find strategic options, where you ask yourself, how can this be done? Are there different or better ways to do it? All right. And so these are strategic questions that you need to ask, all right? Because people say the journey to success is very boring. It's something that you need to do again and again and again to attain success. If it is something that is successful, you need to do it over again and again and again. And so sometimes we got carried away with that. We take things for granted, and we are not realizing that we have come to a wall. And we have not asked these kind of strategic questions. We have to look for strategic options. Now, especially when you come to the shift market, you need to ask strategic questions. How can this be done? Are there a different way or better ways to do it? Just like open house, now we have to talk about social distancing. We have to talk about, we have to consider things like no big gatherings. And so how are you going to do open house? Then the strategic questions comes in. Are there a different way to do it? Is there a better way to do it? So you got to find strategic options. That's step number 2, moving from E to P. And step number 3 is to look for models to follow. All right. Before you want to achieve mastery, you first got to go through some training, right? So attend training that teaches you how to get where you want to go. All right. Identify people or mentors that has done it before. So if you want to climb Himalaya, you got to find a Sherpa who knows how to go there, who's been there before, and will be able to take you there. And so mentors are the people who has done it before, and they are the ones that will be able to take you there. All right. So in Refill, we have many people who has been there, done that, and able to take you further. And we have models that will be able to teach you And one of the things that is important to you as an agent, as a negotiator, is to practice scripts. Practice scripts, all right? Time block, practice scripts, create a checklist, and make sure the system you install work consistently and efficiently, all right? Am I lagging in my audio?
It's okay now. It was a few minutes before this.
All right. So step number 4, install a system. Time block is very good. Time block is very effective. Like I said earlier, I like to emphasize, when you do time block, you make sure that the whole world knows that you are doing time block for that particular time. All right. So that they won't disturb you and you won't be disrupted. So practice scripts, create checklists, make sure that the system you install work consistently and efficiently. So whatever systems you want to install, you have to apply it consistently. All right, consistently, so that you be more efficient. Okay. Step number 5 is to bring accountability. All right. The purpose of accountability is to measure what you do, and that's why we teach you 411. Is to measure what you do and track what you do, and track your achievements on a weekly basis. All right. So 411 is a very good system, but you need to implement it consistently so that you get good results. And of course, have an accountability partner. So in our structure in KW, we practice accountability partnership, and accountability partnership is to help you to maintain your consistency and you keep your focus. All right, and so that you will not be disrupted, you will not move back to being entrepreneurial, but instead be more purposeful in whatever that you do. All right, so these are 5 steps that you can apply to if you want to move from E to P, from being entrepreneurial to being purposeful. All right, step 1, be more focused. Step 2, be strategic in your options. Step 3, look for models to follow. And step 4, install systems. And step 5, bring accountability. All right. So we have covered from moving from E to P, being from entrepreneurial to being purposeful. So what have you learned from this perspective? This is the aha moment. Maybe you can share in your chat box, what have you learned? What are your ahas that you have got?
Aha, all. Hey, William, can you go back to that slide, before this slide, the slide of the chart, the 4 steps and all that? Can we just look at that for a second?
Okay, let me share that. This one?
Yes, this one.
Yeah.
I think this is probably the 5 things that I think is very critical for us to move from E to P. A lot of people, I think, may not kind of understand what does it mean by being entrepreneurial and purposeful, because a lot of people feel that entrepreneurial is the way forward, and it's not wrong. I think in all things we do, even if we are working for people, even if we are a child or we are going to school, entrepreneurial gives us that perspective of, it's not about money, it's not about profit, it's about us wanting to be better, wanting to be positive, wanting to create new things, wanting to innovate. So that's really entrepreneurial. And a lot of times entrepreneurial is very emotional based. It is the natural of how we feel. But purposeful becomes the unnatural, because purposeful is us going in and focusing on things that is necessary to do that we may not like or we may not feel comfortable doing. I think to explain E to P, it's critical for us to understand, and these 5 steps help us to see why E to P, what is the definition of being purposeful, being focused. How many of you understand right now why the models in KW is critical? How many of you now can see that without the economic model in your GPS, that GPS is actually a very vague GPS. How many of you understand that right now? If you understand that yet, please press 1. There you go. Because we could be going out there and saying that, hey, lead generation is important for my business because I need to make 500,000. But we then don't have a step and a formula to go and hit that 500,000. And we just say, let's call 200 calls per day, or let's just call 500 calls per day. But when you do a GPS with being very purposeful, maybe you only need to find 10 buyers for this next 7 months to hit your 300,000 or 500,000 goal. And that's really being focused and being purposeful, and look at the strategic options of how can this be done, or are there better ways to do it? So some of these things I think are very relevant to agents, especially today, because we are always looking at what other people are doing. And what other people are doing doesn't make it work for our GPS. Do you understand right now that your GPS is different from everyone else? And if you copy everybody else, what everyone is doing, it doesn't necessarily bring you closer to your goal. I think, William, I don't know whether you agree with me, people that you coach, they always come and tell you, hey, William, that people is doing this, that people is doing that, but let's follow. But they don't really have a base on a purpose of why should they follow what that people is doing, right? So I think that's where a lot of challenges are for some of our agents. How many of you can relate to what I'm trying to say here right now? We are so easy to follow. We are so quick to follow what everyone is doing, what everyone is working on. But what's necessary is that what's necessary for your goal. Maybe in your goal, you need to only do one thing right now. You need to only learn one skill right now. Maybe the one skill you need to learn right now is how to shoot a 360 angle camera for your business. Maybe that's that one thing, right? I just want to bring that perspective for people to see why E to P, to me, is one of the most critical and the most challenging perspective to have. Because it can be very distractive. It can be very, very distractive. I don't know, what do you think, William? The distraction that we get takes us away from being a purposeful person.
Well, it's not only distractive, but it is also a limit. Because a lot of people like to refer back to what they have been doing because it has been successful thus far, but not realizing that they have come to their limit. And so they to fall back on what they have been doing, what they have been doing well and brought results, and thinking that repeating all those are good enough, but not realizing that repeating all those that they've been doing as an entrepreneur has its limits. Will only be able to bring them up to as high as the ceiling of achievements. So what they need to break through is to be more purposeful, doing things that are unnatural, finding a right model and a system to do it.
Yeah. I think the unnatural self is the one that a lot of us are avoiding, and a lot of us, including myself, avoids and not want to do it because it is very uncomfortable. It is very uncomfortable. I was just sharing with my wife yesterday night when I was hosting that training session. We saw 560 people sign up from 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m. all the way to 11 p.m. 560, easily 560, 570 people was on the call in and out. And I find that to be very unnatural. Like, who would have thought in your journey of real estate, how many of you would have gone for a night training? Right, that's the first unnatural thing. The second thing is I was telling my wife, hey, I'm working like from 8 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night, Like that, yesterday I had to do night shift. Like, how would I have thought that as real estate or running this business or being a business owner in this company, a part of a co-owner of this company and being that leadership role, who would have thought I would be working overtime? And some of my team members and all of you were all working overtime. And who would have thought that is what we would have done, right? But that's an example of all of us able to work overtime. Now, quick question here. If I can secure Gary Keller to speak at 3 a.m. in the morning, how many of you will go for this call?
I would.
No, I don't think I can, but I'm just saying, how many of you will go for the call at 3 a.m. in the morning? There you go. There you go. Well, I want to manage expectation here. That's not happening. But the unnatural me now say maybe I should ask, right? So there you go. So if you could wake up in the morning to watch football, that's the natural thing because that's what you like to do. Those football fans out there, you'll be watching football at 3 a.m. in the morning. So Champions League semi-final or whatever. But yeah, I know we prefer not 3 a.m. But what if that's the only time, right? That's the unnatural part of us that we need to think and say, hey, maybe this is where we need to do. This is what we need to do. Right, so that's some of the things that we have to think about, and that's the moment where we change from being entrepreneurship to purposeful. Right?
One more example that I always come across is that they like to go back to when we ask them to do lead generation, to do more prospecting. They like to say, "Oh, all the while I've got all my contacts already. All my contacts are coming back to me with listings and coming back to me with buyers, referrals, and all that. So I don't have to contact them; they will contact me."
Yeah.
This is another example, a very typical example of someone being very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
But nothing wrong with that. But again, it has its limit. You cannot scale it up. You cannot break through your ceiling of achievements.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is very important, guys. That E to P, to me, is one of the breaking points for an agent to expand and scale their business, especially in times like this. Being purposeful is when you are so laser sharp focused that it doesn't really matter. If you have to come at 3 o'clock, I will come at 3 o'clock. If someone calls you right now and say, I need to buy this property at 2 a.m. in the morning, you go and buy. You may want to do that, right? But the purposeful part is actually on how can we have a model and a system to hold us accountable. How do we then have scripts in place? How do we then create checklists? How do we then create that consistent effort in our system? And how do we manage your database? The number one thing that we have is database, right? Database is probably the P part. It is not the E part. E part is how do we have good communication skills? How do we have good PR skills? You know, every agent wants to talk at communication, and those are all very good things. But the real P part here, the real purposeful part is how do you manage this relationship in a systematically structured way? You know, so these are some of the things that we want to teach you guys, but it's not about the lesson. It's about us seeing that this is critical enough for me to change my behavior and want to put my database in a systematic format. It doesn't matter what system you use, but at least it's a systematic format. You know, I'm very happy to say that very soon we will be announcing David Voorhees, the labs manager for Command, the guy behind Labs of Command in the KW, that specializes in database, will be joining us for one live training, and that's pretty much confirmed the next couple of weeks. So you will probably learn from that. Okay, back to you, William. Move us forward.
All right. Another example before I move forward, I like to highlight is that people think because they are so used to being entrepreneurial, they get results very fast, and so they are not used to taking a new journey, taking a new process of learning things and going through the process of learning and acquiring the skills, and then so that it will lead them to become more purposeful and more results. So people don't like to go through that kind of process because they are so used to instant results, getting results faster. So they don't like to go through the training, the acquiring of new skills, the practices, the drills that you need to go through every day to master whatever skills that you need to have. Very good example is that things like we teach GPS, doing your business plan to make it simple into a one page. And even Gary Keller has simplified on how to do a business plan into a one page, but people are still finding it very difficult, dragging their feet to get into that. And why? Because all the while, being an entrepreneur, you don't write everything down. You know your goals, you know what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve it. I know lah. I know to work. I know I got some way to do it lah. I need to work hard lah. I know lah. But black and white is not very clear. It's not very specific. There's no clarity and there's no tracking system and all that. So people are not used to this. So that's why it's taking time from them to move from E to P. So, but like what you saw in the video, the sooner you move from E to P, the sooner you will get results. All right. But of course, the transition takes time because you need to acquire new skills, learn up the new models. You need to put time into it. Things, a very simple thing like time block, people need to do it a few times before they know and understand what is time block means and how to make it effective. Very simple things, but you need to go through that process. And so a lot of people are not willing to go through that process and to move so that they become more purposeful. Yeah, those examples.
Yeah. I think one of the things that if you are reading this book right now, some of the contents here called The One Thing, co-written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. And we had the opportunity to listen to Wendy Papasan, instead, the wife of Jay Papasan, who's the co-author of The One Thing, the MREA and the Shift. It says here that in order for us to change our behavior, it takes 66 days. There is a 66 days rule. If you consistently do one thing and be focused on one thing that you think if you do this, being purposeful about this one thing, and this will become that main domino effect for your entire business, you need 66 days. You keep doing it consistently for 66 days. It is not about the amount of time you spend. It could be just 1 hour. It could just be 45 minutes. But if you do it consistently for 66 days, it will become the norm for you. Right? So that's something that what we are learning from The One Thing. Okay, sorry, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt anymore, William. Go ahead.
Further to that, to extend further on what you said, that is acquiring new habits. So that's why they put there 60 days. You need 60 days to do it consistently over 60 days for you to be able to acquire your new habit. All right. So some people say it's a pain. Oh, of course, it's a pain. Acquiring new habits is a pain because you are moving out from your comfort zone, doing something new, and learning something. Practicing something that you are unfamiliar with. So that's why you need time, and you need to do it consistently and over 60 days so that you'll be able to achieve and acquire that and turn it to be a habit. All right. Talking about habit, we will be covering that as we move on to the next perspective, talking about being learning based. All right. So how to acquire a habit so that you become more purposeful, and that's what we're going to look at. All right. Let's have a look. So step 4 in the perspective is make learning based the foundation of your action plan. All right. So learning based for an individual means an individual who has made the decision to use effective learning as the foundation piece of their action plan to develop their life. So it all starts with a decision. Do you want to change your habit? If you want to change your habit, you need to if you want to acquire some new habits, you need to do it consistently over 60 days. So in fact, Gary Keller has started off a platform called The One Thing. And in The One Thing, they have a 60 days challenge. And some people subscribe to that, pay for it, and use that as a way to help them to keep, to acquire new habits. So if you want to acquire new habits, it's got to start with a decision, all right? And then use some effective learning as the foundation of your action plan, all right? So if you want to acquire a habit, it has to be an action plan. In other words, it's got to be reflected in your calendar, right? So if you want to start a program to exercise, you got a time block, you got to put it in your calendar for it to be effective, for you to be able to acquire and move it on into becoming a habit, all right? Once you reach the level of habit, then you can say that you have mastered it, all right? So let's say, go back to exercise. If you want to, if you think that exercise is important to you and you want to put some exercises in your lifestyle, then you need to put an action plan to it. So you got to time block. You got to put that in your calendar. But if you want to approach it in a way that, as and when I do it, or when I feel like it, or when I have the time, that's being entrepreneurial. That's not being purposeful anymore. So if you want to be purposeful, it has got to be an action plan where you really got a plan and a program, and you put it in, and you time block it, and you put it in your calendar. So that's what it means by action plan. And that was what it means by being purposeful and acquiring new habits. All right. So that's what you mean by making learning based the foundation of your action plan. And in KW, we don't do it for the sake of doing it. We don't know, we don't come to learn for the sake of learning, for the sake of acquiring knowledge, but we come to learn for the sake of improving ourselves and make us better, and also in terms of our life and in the areas of our business. All right. So doing is. So there are 4 learning steps that we need to learn. We need to understand this so that we will know how to move from E to P, how to move from entrepreneur to acquire a certain successful habits that we need to put in to become purposeful. All right. What are these 4 steps? Level 1 is what we call unconscious incompetence. For example, if you have not learned how to drive a car before, you wouldn't know the complications and the complexity of driving a car. You need to learn how to use the brakes, accelerator, the steering wheel. And when you are on the road, you need to look for signs, avoid obstacles, or check your speed. There are so many things to look out for. And that's how complicated driving is. But if you have not learned it, this is, you would then be at a level where you don't know what you don't know. Because you have not driven a car before, you have not learned how to drive a car before, you wouldn't know the complexity of driving a car, all right? So if you want to drive a car, then you probably want to sign up for a learning class, sign up with a driving school where you acquire some knowledge, all right? Now, after acquiring the knowledge, you know, okay, now I know how complicated driving a car is, all right? And so you have reached a second level of your learning, which is called conscious incompetence, meaning that now you know that you don't have those kind of skills to drive a car. So now you are aware of what kind of skills that is required. That's where level 2 is. Level 1, you don't know that driving is so complicated. You don't know that you don't have those kind of skills to drive a car. Level 2, now you know that you don't have those kind of skills, and you need to acquire those skills. And this is what we call, what you will say, we now know what we don't know, right? So you know, after going through the classes of driving school, and you now know what kind of skills that is required and how complicated, how complex driving a car is. So after driving school, you go on the road, you start to acquire some driving skills. All right. So after driving for some time, then you have gained some wisdom about driving. Okay. Now you have come to a third level of learning, which is called the conscious competence. Right. Now you know the skills that you have. Now you know the skills that are required to drive a car. And now you know how to drive a car. So this is the third level of learning, where you are now conscious of your skills, conscious of your competence. All right. So after learning and gaining wisdom, you'll be driving for so many years, and your wisdom has now become a habit. All right. Once you have acquired the level of habit, this is where you come to the 4th stage of learning, which is called unconscious competence. That means when you are using the skills, when you are driving a car up to the level of habits, you are doing it without even really thinking it, right? After many years of driving, you don't really need to think, okay, someone is crossing the road, now I have to slow down a bit, let him cross the road. Okay, now I can go faster. You don't really think through that kind of process, right? Because it's a habitual thing already. You have reached a level of habit. You don't really need to think through step by step. You just know how to drive and avoid the passenger, right? So this is where you have acquired a skill, and now you just do it without thinking about it. What are the skills that you have learned that you have reached this kind of habit? Where you have reached this kind of level of learning, where you call it an unconscious competence. You just do it without thinking. Driving is one of it, cooking is one of it, eating is one of it, all right? So many other things. But moving from E to P, then you need to learn new things, new habits. Something that's unnatural, of course, at the beginning, but if you keep doing it and mastering it, and it becomes a habit, it becomes very natural already. So it may seem unnatural at the beginning. If you want to be purposeful, you want to learn the new system, you want to learn the new skills, you want to learn how to do time block, you want to learn how to practice your 411. Those are new skills, new systems that you need to install. But at the beginning, it will seem unnatural. But it's okay. It's fine because you are just starting. You'll probably be at the level 2 where you are aware of the incompetence. You are aware that you are not very good with it and you're not comfortable with it because you are not very good with it. But you just have to keep on and on and on and master and raise that level of skills until you reach a level of wisdom. And then you keep practicing it until it becomes a habit. Once it's reached a habit, it's become very natural. Take, for example, lead generation. When we talk about scripts, learning scripts, people say, oh, so unnatural, so difficult. Makes me sound like a robot, of course, because you have not mastered it until it has become a habit. You have not reached that level where you can just do it without thinking. And where you reach that level, it becomes a natural conversation. It's no more a script, it's a natural conversation. So anything that you want to acquire, any new habits you want to acquire, okay, you have the 66 days, you know already. You will have definitely something you feel very unnatural. You will feel something uncomfortable because it's very new to you. You are not good at it and you are not very skillful with it, which is fine. But how to reach that level is to do it consistently over and over and over until you reach that level of a habit, where we call a level where you are unconscious of your competence. You have that kind of skills and it comes so naturally, you don't really have to think. All right? So that's how you move from E to P. You put learning base as the foundation of your action plan. That's all. So these steps are about acquiring skills and habits, installing your systems, installing the tools that we have given you. All right? So in KW, we have many learning for earning's sake, not just for knowledge sake, but for earning's sake. So high achievers reach their goals by making training, education, self-development the foundation of the action plan. All right, again, it has to be an action plan. It has to be reflected in your calendar where you want to set a time to do the learning, to do that reading, to do that practices implementation. All right. So let's see, watch this video by Georgia about being learning based.
I'm Georgia Alpizar, Regional Director of the North Florida region. I made Learning Based the foundation for my action plan from the time I started with Keller Williams in 1999. I quickly learned that Keller Williams was a training and coaching company that happened to sell real estate. I was amazed at all of the training available to help agents go from having a sales job to teaching them how to run a real estate business and develop into leaders. As a former team leader in Plano, Texas, I took every opportunity to attend agent training classes and leadership classes. I then brought that information back to our market center and used this to teach our agents. I know that being learning-based and continuing to attend the KWU and regional training events resulted in my leadership opportunities in Keller Williams as a team leader and now in my OP, regional director, and master faculty roles. Being learning-based provides you the opportunity to use the 80-20 model effectively to master what you need to do to stay in your 20%.
All right, being learning-based will give you that opportunity to move from E to P. Let me go back to my screen. So in KW, we have training and for you to learn at every level of your career, right? Even if you are at a launch level or the growth level or achievement level, all levels, we have those kind of training material and training sessions to help you to move from E to P. All right. One of the famous book that we want to recommend is, of course, the MREA book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And the other one that is more relevant now, especially now, is that book on Shift, S-H-I-F-T, especially when now we are in the shift market. And I've read through that book, and you get a lot of golden nuggets from there that is very relevant to in our market today. So the others are real estate investor, flip, hold, and shift for commercial. And this is the book that I strongly recommend if you want to be more purposeful in one thing that you want to do. All right. So we talked about earlier, one of the perspective is being committed to 80-20 principle. All right. So now this one book is to help you to further focus on that 20%. All right. We ask you to focus on the 20% that matters, which will bring you 80% of the results. But this book is looking into that 20% to identify that one thing that you will achieve. All right. To help that you can pick up, so that by doing that one thing, all the others will come easier or maybe unnecessary. All right. It will all you have to do is just identify that one thing, and by doing that one thing, the others will fall in place. All right. The others will fall like a domino. Okay. So this book says it will help you through all the cut through all the clutters. Again, sometimes we think that all this is necessary, that is necessary. And in this book, he says the 50-50 is a fallacy. All right. A lot of entrepreneurs think that they have to do a lot of things. They have to cover a lot of people, reply a lot of emails and all that. 101 things to do, but not effective. And so that's why you need to identify your 20%. And from that 20%, identify that one thing. And this book will help you cut through all those clutters and also help you achieve better results in less time, build momentum towards your goal, dial down the stress, overcome the overwhelming feeling, revive your energy, stay on track, and master what matters to you. So especially people, all those agents out here who've been in the business for quite a number of years, and the kind of feedback that I've been getting is that they are getting more tired emotionally, physically, mentally, and that is because they've been entrepreneurial all this while. All right, they've been applying that 50-50 fallacy. All right, and instead of focusing on the 20%. Or even on here, identifying that one thing. If you are able to do that, then you'll be able to down the stress. Real estate then will not be so stressful anymore. And you will be able to overcome that overwhelming feeling, right? That big, heavy feeling on your shoulder. All right. So this is one of our recommendations for your reading for you to move from E to P. But of course, we have Ignite. It's a process that we will move you from if you are in the launch stage or in the growth stage. This is the Ignite class that we have. We have over 12 classes where we cover the process of doing real estate, starting from lead generation, finding and building up your business, to finding the buyer and finding the seller, doing listings presentation, doing buyer's consultation. All these are covered in this class. All right. And of course, we teach about GPS. That means finding your goal, your purpose, your priority, and your strategy, and putting them all in one page. A very simple, simplistic, yet very focused business plan. Most entrepreneurs don't have a business plan. They have something in their mind. They know what they want to achieve. They know their goals. They roughly know what they want to do. And how can you do it? Can you achieve it? If I ask that question, they say, hopefully lah. I think so lah. But the GPS will be more clearer, and you are more more certain of achieving your goal. That's in the GPS. And 411 is to help you to be more focused and more consistent in your execution and implementation of your plan. All right. So other training that we have is lead generation, win the buyers, win the sellers. And so to make your learning base a foundation of your action plan, number one, you have to be conscious of your incompetence. What are the skills you think you are lacking? What are the things that you don't know? So you got to identify that. And then number two, make a commitment to learning it. And of course, number three, sign up for those training that we have available for you. So what have you learned from step number 4, being learning based, the foundation of your action plan?
Hey, William, can you go back to the slide before that slide? I think that's a very good slide for us to have a conversation on. The slide before the last slide. That few questions.
This one?
Yes, there you go. How many of you right now are conscious of your current skill set or your current ability that you are not competent in? How many of you? I want you to take the next that you know that is necessary, right? So, for example, if you know that using context, it is in command, it is absolutely important for your business. Now, there are many things that all of us are incompetent, but doesn't mean you have to go and learn everything, right? But focus on things that it is absolutely necessary for your business right now. For example, learning context, learning command. How many of you, I want you to take that moment right now. Just take this moment. This is an opportunity for you right now to discover. I want you to write down right now in the next 30 seconds. Write down what is that one thing that you know you are incompetent in doing it right now and you want to go into that competency level. What is that one thing? Write it down right now. Next 30 seconds. If you can, share it with us on the chat box. Cold calling, what else? Technology, mastering my cold calling. There you go. Master command, there you go. What else? Follow up, cold calling. Tech usage, utilization of technology. Now be very specific. What sort of technology? Because technology is a very big topic. It's a very big thing. What part of technology? In fact, what part of that particular technology that we work? If you talk about command, what part of command that you want to master? Because some of us are already mastering context, but we need to maybe master smart plans, database management. There you go. Smart plans. There you go. Being persistent. That's a mindset. What's that one thing that you need to be competent about right now? Because some of the action points right now that you should be thinking is formulating a plan how to work on this right now. What classes you need to take, what lessons that you want. Then we won't be going to classes that may not matter to us anymore, right? So it's important. They master the 4 models, absolutely, and command, because that's the right thing. Very good, Elaine. I like that. Mastering the 4 models and command, because that 4 foundational models and command is actually one thing, right? There you go. A lot of us are doing that. Have a plan and work with your plan. Absolutely. Be very clear. How many of you are so clear of your goal, your GPS, that you know you need to find 10 buyers only for this year, 9 buyers only for this year? So like that, those are the things that we need to be conscious about our incompetency, right? And these are the things that is very critical in command or in our business, right? And committing that to learning and thinking of how do you leverage right now? Who do you talk to coach you in learning this thing? What classes you should start be doing? Maybe you should, all of you should be giving us feedback on what are the classes that you want to learn right now, because we are going to go into the next 3 to 6 months where virtual training is the new norm. We're not stopping there. I just saw Gary Keller, I just saw Jay Papasan and John Shaw, James Shaw, I'm sorry, in the Pivot Shift group in Facebook. doing a survey to find out what are the things or what are the lessons that is necessary for us to talk about in order to help the agents moving forward. There you go. So these are some of the things that it's critical for us to start thinking about and start putting a plan to start learning. Maybe it's finishing this book or finishing MREA in the next 2 weeks. Maybe that's a good plan. Maybe it's rallying 5 people to do a book club and start reading the book together. Maybe it's going through the notes that we did in our business planning clinic, right? So this, I think, is critical in building our pathway to be very learning based. Now, William, is there any other things that you want to talk about based on these 2 topics?
You mean the slides? I've covered the slides already.
Okay. Is there any questions that you guys have for us right now? Any questions or any ahas that you have right now? If you want to learn command, learn the models first. I repeat, if you want to learn command, if you want to master command, master the models first. Know what's your GPS. Know what's your SOI. You know what is lead generation model. If you don't know that, you don't know how to tag your contacts. You wouldn't know how to do certain things because why? It wouldn't make sense. Once you understand the model, the first thing that all of us should master is follow the model. What's the model? What's the GPS? You need a class. You need to learn models first. Only those who have completed their GPS, who understand their GPS very well, then potentially they are very ready to use command. If they don't know their GPS, they don't know the economic model, command would likely be something that is not as useful as you think it is. Because it is an enabler to enable your model to scale. It's an enabler for your business. So the foundation fundamentals, it's still the foundational models and the GPS. Once you have that clear, command now suddenly becomes the powerful tool.
John.
Yep.
Yeah, talking about command and using technology, I think people are still, again, on the mindset of being an entrepreneur and on to something that's very different, very new to them. Could be a challenge, a big challenge. And so being learning based is also to teach you to learn how to leverage on using mentors, using a system that will able to, help you to speed up your learning of your skills, learning how to use the technology. So trying it yourself, maybe you need to find someone who can give you a tuition, or maybe regional can have some classes for people who are taking who needs more coaching, more training to be able to learn up. So that can be one of the way.
Yeah. So Kashmir has a very good question. How do we choose which model we want to adopt for our business? You need to adopt all. It is a sequence. If you don't have an economic model, you wouldn't know how your lead generation model will look like. Now, these 2 are the foundational models, right? Then the budget model only comes, then only organizational model. Now, my argument is this. If you don't have the first 2, the other 2 won't make sense. Because if you don't know how many leads you need, based on what's the economic model that you have, you wouldn't know what budget you should set for your business. So Kashmir, you need to learn all models. Unfortunately, there's no shortcut. You have to understand and master your economic model. If you have been through our workshop for GPS, those who have gone through the workshop of GPS, they would be drilled by me or the coaches to ask them this simple question: how many houses do you need to sell to make your goal? What's the average size? What's the average price per unit? And what's the average commission per unit that you are going to get? How many appointments ratio to closing? How many calls to appointments that you need to have? What's that ratio? Are you a 1 to 10 ratio, 1 to 5 ratio, 1 to 7 to ratio? This is just how you should focus on. It's not about getting good leads. It's about getting a good business plan. So we are in business. So I'll give you an example right now. I'll give you a very simple example. How many of you here have eaten McDonald's before? If you have eaten McDonald's before, please say yes. Now, I am not doing an announcement or advertising for McDonald's, but I assume after this conversation, some of you will be ordering Grab McDonald's, right? You'll just be triggered, right? Now, what's McDonald's business model? What's McDonald's business model? McDonald's business model is to get you to buy stuff that is, as the burger business, not the property part, but as the burger business. What is that business model in their burger business? Is to get you to buy sets of meal, combo meals. You go in there, you walk in with 3 things, not 1 thing. That's the business model. So they understand, in order for one store to be profitable, how many combos must we have? I'm talking about one store, right? One store. How many combos must we have? If I have 5, 6, 7, 8 combos, how likely, how many people must I serve? What's the marketing strategy, or what's the locations I should put in based on the economic model that I have? Now, they can't just open an outlet and say, oh, I feel that this place is the best place because you know why? It's very busy. Not necessarily so. They need to study, is there that amount of disposable income in that area that potentially could fit into the model of running a McDonald's outlet? And if this McDonald's outlet can generate this amount of sales per day, per week, per month, per year, then potentially it's a viable option. Now, McDonald's practice what we call the foundational economic model. Then they go into lead generation. How can I make sure people walk into my door every day? Those are the promotion. What is the target audience? Do you know that if you go Grab right now, you can order something called family combo meal. You save like 10%, 15% if you order 2 particular medium sets in one. They are creating opportunities to generate more leads by having more offering to target certain audience. Now, if they don't know what's the average per customer they need to earn to survive for 1 day in operation, they can't produce all this lead generation, all this offer. They wouldn't be looking at what kind of product, when should we do nasi lemak burger, when should we do, what do you call that famous burger during Chinese New Year, what is that, prosperity burger, right? Those are the seasonal things that they know. If I launch this product, I will generate this amount of leads that will walk in and will buy and spend money. So they practice financial models. They practice economic model, lead generation model. I'm sure they practice budget model as well. How many people should work at one time? How many people should do this? So all these things are based on system and models. That's probably the best system and models in the world for business right now. I think McDonald's by far right now is one of the best business model. Why is a good business model? Because it's scalable. The minute you see a model that is good, it is always scalable. It is always growing. It's always moving many outlets. Almost every part of the world today, there is a McDonald's. There is a consistency. There is a model behind it. Same thing in real estate. If you go every part of the KW world, in the whole US, even around the world, you'll be seeing people talking about the same thing. 411135 GPS. Now, those who have followed us for the past 1.5 months in training, virtual training, and you have experienced the conversations that we have with our international speakers from the US, how many of you feel there are certain similarities there? If you say there are similarities, please press yes. We are talking the same thing, right? Because they are following the similar model. It is called the 4 foundational models. It is the thinking model. It is called the 6 personal perspective. We are not running away from it. We are not teaching our thing. We are teaching what that is working. We are now, as a company, as a leadership in the company, we are going from entrepreneurial to purposeful. We are showing that example. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to create our own thing. We want to localize and make it relevant, definitely, but we are still following some fundamental model. And I'm learning as leadership. I'm learning. Everyone is learning. All of you are learning. People like William is putting a lot of effort to learn. He's also learning based. He's also pursuing self-mastery by teaching. Right? So it is very similar. This is absolutely right, Wenda. Any industry can adopt this model. Absolutely. And I'm learning based. I'm going on classes every single week. I have 2 night calls, almost 2 night calls with KW Worldwide. Yesterday, I got an email, a very honored email. I was selected as one of the KW Worldwide regional leadership to attend a master class or a mastermind session with Gary Keller tomorrow and Friday. I can only go by myself. I cannot bring anyone else. But I'm selected. So I need to go and learn as well, so that when I learn what I'm learning, I bring it back to the business here in Malaysia, and kind of help everyone of us to channel through that learning as well. So that's learning based. All of us should be learning all the time. The minute we stop learning, right, and that's when you will begin to see that someone else is ahead of us. Someone else is going beyond us. Why? Is because we stop learning. And the danger is when we stop learning is when we felt that we are okay. And this is not the right time to feel this way, right? Cool, thank you. I just thought I want to share that we are all learning based as well. And the class I have to go to tomorrow, it's from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. I have to learn. That's an opportunity for me. Do I want to take the opportunity? Absolutely. Is it convenient? No. Do I have to change my whole schedule to fit it? I cannot, right? I still have to come to work next day at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, so I have to do this, right? So this is being that E to P and being learning based, right? So I'm trying to role model for everyone here as well. Being learning based is very critical in what we do. There you go. Is there any more questions about what we have talked today? Anyone got any more questions? Any ahas? Any ahas, any questions?
Oh, John, while waiting for the questions to come in, I've got one more to add.
Sure.
All mega agents have this successful criteria, which is mindset. And mindset includes learning base, all right? And in research, in the book Mindset by Dr. White, she says that they found out that lifetime learning is longer than what we expected. And so people are thinking, at one time people were thinking that once you reach certain age, you will stop learning, you will not be able to learn any more new things. That's where the word, the phrase, the saying comes out, where you don't teach old dogs new tricks, right? But they found that it's not true anymore. In research, they found that lifelong learning is actually longer than what people expected. I have a guy at 90 years old. He himself, 90 years old, you know, he himself went to the shopping complex, bought a laptop, learned how to use Windows 10. And so he is still learning, and he can still learn. And so it's not what I call learning is not something that has its limit or have a shelf life. Not really. It is a lifelong learning.
Yeah, there's no discrimination in education. There is absolutely no discrimination in education. It is a decision. If you want to be learning based, it is a choice. All of us have that ability to make that choice, right? Cool. Any more questions? Any more questions? Now, if you don't have much questions, I have a few announcements. I want you all to stay back for a few minutes. I have a few announcements to make. Can I have the video, please? Can I have the video, please? I'll give that time. Video, please. Who's playing my video? Virtual support?
Charles.
Virtual support, please play the video.
Let's see. Charles is supposed to play the video.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Okay, so that's a quick intro video for those who were not with us last night, where we launched and officially announced to everyone that now we have officially, for the first time ever in Malaysia, the official strategic partner for real estate agents to provide the virtual 360 solution. Can I and Keller Williams Malaysia, and in partnership with Matterport, based in California, will be bringing this solution to all real estate agents in Malaysia. Yes, you are right. You are hearing this correctly. It's going to be bringing all real estate agents in the entire whole Malaysia. You have opportunity to be exposed and to potentially be subscribing to this solution. Now, in order for us to give you the best outcome, the best understanding and the clarity of what's going to happen, how it entails and all that, it will require an entire 2 hours to, number one, show you how the tech works. Number two, tell you what's in it. Now, the cost, it's not, to me as an agent, it will not be very expensive. But if your business is not doing too well right now, maybe that's something you want to put aside first. But if you're doing okay and you have a lot of listings to work on right now, potentially this is an opportunity for you to think about. But I want to talk about costs in that session next week. Can I have the next slide, please? Next week, we will be having a session with the Managing Director of Asia Pacific for Matterport, Bruce Wells, who happens to reside in Malaysia. We will be having a special promotion, and this promotion and this opportunity is only available through us. Now, it is open for any agents in Malaysia, but it's only available through Keller Williams Malaysia. If you want to get this deal, you need to get it through us, right? Now, I'm very clear here, to be very clear with everyone, we do not make any profit from this. We are just trying to bring the best opportunity and the best win for the agents in our company and also in the organization, in the fraternity of real estate. So please register this session, come for this preview, and we will share with you how affordable it is right now. And some of the things that I can tell you right now offhand, that potentially your subscription may come with a free 360 camera that is worth $400 US. So these are some of the things that we are going to bring through and that value. And I think that the cost of subscribing is not very expensive. It's not very expensive. I think it's very affordable and it's very simple to use. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, I want to ask all of us here who are guests or our agents, if you could look at our rent support fund program that we are running right now. I want to just ask all of us, if you see that we have bring value to you, especially for our guests, support us in this journey. Any amount is good enough for us. It could be a small amount, but as long as we are all helping all our rents, I think our rents today really need our help in the whole nation. Now, this program is available for every agent in Malaysia. It is not only for agents in our company. If you know of a friend who is in a different company who needs help right now, who's struggling, he can qualify to get this support from us in our fund. We have raised recently sufficient funds right now to support quite a bit of families, and we have already dispersed some of the monies to those families already. So if you know anyone that needs help right now, please send them to us or ask them to call those 3 numbers right now. Okay, thank you very much, guys. William, do you have any last words or any last thoughts for our audience here today?
Well, make learning base is as the foundation of your action plan, and make sure that all those intentions to learn and plan to learn is reflected in your calendar, which means then it's an action plan.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. For all Redfield agents, please be reminded at 1 p.m. there's that official announcement. So please go to Workplace or go to your various resources to get that link to listen to that new official announcement. So thank you very much, guys. You guys have a good lunch. I'll see you all at 1 o'clock. Thank you very much. Thanks, William, for sharing again. Thank you very much.